Hello, Duvid here. We are live. I have my chess crazy house friends, IgorBugMate from Jerusalem and Zaraza from Russia. So very excited to do a crazy house stream. Igor is a prolific bug house and crazy house player that
Terrific.
people, in the bug house scene in Israel hopefully know, and internationally on Lead Chess. And Zaraza is a very prolific crazy house player and a streamer. So she is one of the most common live streamers of the crazy house chess variant of chess that I play. So we're going to do a stream today. I'm going to try to give over my method of chess improvement, just how to study the game, how to look at the game, and hopefully we'll put our heads together to look at some positions, analyze some positions, and improve. And I'm going to try to explain the De Groot, the famous Adrian De Groot, the player from the Netherlands, wrote Thought and Choice 1945 that I've done streams on my channel before, and maybe a little bit about chunking theory that is related to some of my thoughts on consciousness and decision making. And as I mentioned, De Groot's thought in. So why don't I let Igor is going to serve as a translator. Anyone who plays chess knows that chess is almost a Russian game. In Israel and America now, a disproportion of the strongest chess players in Israel and America are Russian, and Russians have dominated chess for years. So it shouldn't be no surprise to anyone familiar with chess that it's going to be a lot of talk in Russian because Russia's one of the centers of chess. So why don't I let Igor introduce himself? I guess I'll let him do in English and then in Russian, and then Zaraza could introduce herself, and Igor will translate, and then I'll move into explaining the De Groot thought and choice method and what we're going to do, and then we'll jump straight into some crazy house studies.
Okay, so I'll start. My name is Igor. I actually came from a former USSR, from Armenia, Yerevan, and I have been living in Israel for like 30 years. I'm in love with the Crazy House game. I find it just more challenging and interesting than even chess. I've been playing chess for like 40 years, almost all my life. Uh, I'm glad to join Duvid's stream, but again, and take a part of this experiment and find out maybe I'll be better at this game also. Зараза, пару слов, как говорится, тебе.
If you want to say that in
На
Russian
русском.
also, you can. Or
Я
if
переведу, если на русском тебе легче.
Меня зовут Анастасия. My name is Anastasia. I'm from Moscow, Russia. I playing in CrazyHouse 5 years. Хватит или еще что-то?
Ну, все, что хочешь на русском, так давайте переведу.
О, Джоанна пришла. Джоанна, hi.
Joanna came here.
Ну, да, меня считают фанатом CrazyHouse, потому что 4 года я играла для удовольствия, и только год-полтора я начала развиваться профессионально и выросла в рейтинге на 400 пунктов. Но вообще моя цель сейчас у меня 2100 плюс-минус, а так моя цель, да, достигнуть 2300 пока.
Okay.
Пока 2300, а там еще больше.
So her name is Anastasia. She is from Russia, and she is also a huge fan of this game, of Crazy House game. She's playing for 5 years this game, and 4 of them she played like for fun. But now she decided to, for the last year, she decided to grow up her skills, and she raised up like 400 points. She's 2100 by this time. And her goal is for in the near future to get to 2300, stuff like that, and to be the best female Crazy House player. We all know. I mean, I don't think there's a female player who is stronger than that. I don't know. Maybe there is, but Okay.
Yes, I see Joanna here in the chat. I put the StreamYard's link if she wants to join. So anybody who plays CrazyHouse on Lead Chess regularly will see that there's two people who are streaming all the time, Zaraza and Joanna. So Zaraza is a prolific streamer, and maybe we'll also move into more commentary. And I linked in the description. She created YouTube page, and she's been doing interviews with some of the top Russian players, and she's also a captain of the Russian team. And Duvid, although I'm a U.S. citizen, and one of the captains of the Israeli team. So we have the Sunday Nation battles, and Zaraza is one of the team captains of Team Red, and Duvid's one of the team captains of Israel. And actually, we mentioned before, Crazy Maharaj has showed up in the chat. I have I'll put the StreamYard link in the chat also if he wants to hop on. He can. Is he a Russian speaker?
Из Russian, хорошо он по-русски говорит, правильно?
Да, у него не очень английский, он сказал.
But he's bilingual. I mean, we spoke in English, so I think his English is also quite good.
She says he's not that good in English, but okay. I think you're a better judge.
So let me explain very briefly the de Groot thought and choice. I should have got it off my shelf earlier. Adrian de Groot was a strong chess master from the Netherlands. I don't think he reached a title, but he was also a professor in psychology. And he had one of the most well-quoted of any scientific papers, period, on studies on psychology and decision-making. And the question that he was wondering is, what is the difference between very strong players, average players, and weak players? Like the popular book in the U.S. of international master Jeremy Silman wrote a book called The Amateur's Mind, where he talks out what various players of different strength are thinking when they look at the position. So if you want to translate that, Igor.
Okay. What's his name also?
Adrian de Groot. And I think he already passed away decades ago. His book Thought and Choice was published in 1945.
Okay. Есть один известный профессор, он также любитель шахмат, почти дошел мастерского уровня, не знаю, стал международным. Зовут его Эндрю де Гру. В общем, он выписал книгу, он пытался, в общем, исследовать, как шахматисты, то есть какая разница между там самыми великими шахматистами, и более средними, и там и начальными, то есть любителями, понять вот как они думают, то есть почему, то есть они играют сильнее, другие слабее, вот, и пытаться вот понять, как они все думают. Вот это была часть его исследования. Он выпустил книгу в 1985 году. По этому поводу. So what was his conclusion?
So people had thought, and I made a long video, for the history, Alfred Binet, who first designed the IQ test, and people thought that stronger chess players are just more highly intelligent, that like a grandmaster sees 10 moves deep, and a beginner only sees 1 or 2 moves deep. And grandmaster must think much faster or calculate to a much better level. And so de Groot designed a series of experiments to try to learn what exactly is the difference between grandmasters and average players. And he exhaustively interviewed at a world, one of the strongest tournaments, most of the top players in the world. And he found that there wasn't any extreme difference in ability between grandmasters and other players, that grandmasters do not, in fact, see many moves deeper, but that grandmasters have a more profound understanding of the position without necessarily any cognitive, testable thinking skill that you could look at a grandmaster and the grandmaster sees 8 moves where the weaker player sees 3 moves. But it was a deeper understanding of the position.
Значит, он понял, что, то есть раньше люди думали, что как бы гроссмейстеры там думают на много больше ходов вперед и все такое. И что в этом и есть различие, но проинтервьюировав как бы многих топ-гроссмейстеров, пришлось просто само понимание шахматной игры, то есть у них намного лучше, это намного больше фактор, чем читать варианты на много ходов вперед. То есть это его как бы основное, как говорится, то есть концепция, о которой действительно в те времена как бы не думали про это. То есть именно вот понимание позиции, понимание вообще шахматной игры, то есть интуитивно, it's also intuition, it's not only the understanding, it also should be some sort of intuition. So you can't calculate everything, I mean, but you have a feeling that this move should be good or stuff like that.
Я могу сказать, Игорь, что благодаря CrazyHouse, да, когда я играю в классические шахматы, а я их играю намного меньше, чем CrazyHouse, да, но когда я играю в классические шахматы, я быстрее делаю просчет разменов. Это
Просчет
прям...
именно? В смысле,
Да, ну, выгодно-невыгодно, грубо говоря, да, там выиграю, не выиграю, но, то есть, когда времени уже остается мало партии, я люблю Блиц 3:0 играть, в классические, я имею в виду, да, вот, и практика CrazyHouse идет мне прям вот на пользу в 3 минутках.
А чем она пользуется, ты просчитываешь размен? Или ты, наоборот, сейчас не просчитываешь? Как бы, то есть ты правильно...
Нет, ну, допустим...
ты делаешь правильные размены, как бы, да?
Да, правильный размен, допустим, если я вижу, что я могу пойти потом на вилку или там выиграть пешку, к примеру, да, противнику, я так понимаю, нужно больше времени продумать.
Может быть. Okay, so for Zaraza's point of view, she also has experience of improving in chess by CrazyHouse experience. So she changes her pieces in classical chess, in the classical variant of chess, the better way, due to her experience in CrazyHouse. So that was her way to improve herself. I mean, CrazyHouse helped her to improve chess in this way. This is my understanding. Okay, this is another one.
Yeah, so let me I'll mention, because my own studies, I have my own theory called multiple truth hypothesis and studies into consciousness, that in 1973, Chase and Simon did a research on chess studies that was a furtherment of de Groot studies and came up with what's called chunking theory. And the concept is that basically short-term memory, you could only hold 7 pieces of information in short-term memory, and this was well tested by cognitive ability of people to hold random pieces of information, but that the 7 pieces in short-term memory could be extremely large chunks. And so Chase and Simon concluded that stronger chess players have large amounts of chunks and larger chunks. So people who follow me regularly know I talk a lot about chunking theory, and I mentioned that chunking theory comes out of these studies on chess of de Groot's Thought and Choice, 1945, and Chase and Simon, 1973. And we're not going to talk that much about chunking theory, but if you just want to mention it for the Russian-speaking audience.
What do you mean by chunking theory?
As I said, are you familiar with the short-term memory versus long-term memory, and that short-term memory is estimated to only be able to hold 7 pieces of information?
I'm not familiar with that, but I guess it's logical.
If I just fed you a random block of letters or numbers, and it's been tested, on all types of people from all over the world, that you could only remember 7 pieces of information, and then you're going to forget it, and that's what's called short-term working memory, which is just immediate recall. But that it was shown that you could remember long things, like there's competitions, people could have memorized 40,000 digits.
Okay, I understand.
And they have, it's because they chunked together memories. And I have videos on speed reading. I teach speed reading. Like if Igor is 4 pieces of information, IgOR, but chunked together, it's just 1 piece of information, Igor. Or possibly for speed reading, you could take in large units in terms of 1 chunk. And superior chess players still have this hard limit of 7 pieces in short-term memory, but they have larger chunks. And so this is a chunking theory. If you want to say that briefly, I would assume most serious chess players who've read the chess literature are familiar with chunking theory because it's one of the most well-quoted and studied psychological studies, period, and it's completely based on studies on chess players.
Окей. Значит, еще один интересный момент, который, то есть, в принципе, ну, как говорится, ну, в общем, что сильные игроки, как бы они, то есть все люди, в принципе, запоминают в среднем где-то примерно позиции с 7 фигурами, плюс-минус. То есть и гроссмейстеры, и более слабые. То есть в среднем берут позиции с 7 фигурами. Но сильные игроки, у них есть какие-то образцы, то есть есть определенные образцы, определенные типы позиций, которые они запоминают, как вот вся позиция, то есть вот эта позиция, вот этот, образец этой позиции, в общем, он знаком и пользуется этими знаниями, чтобы как бы сильнее играть в шахматы. Вот. И вот в этом есть еще одно из различий как бы, сильных и слабых игроков. Согласно этому исследованию. But you know what? I have a friend that can play blindfold like in 12 deaths, and he is also almost a master. So he remembers much more than 7 pieces positions. He can simultaneously play like 12 boards. То есть у меня друг, который играет сеанс одновременной игры на 12 досках. Пытался, по крайней мере, один раз так сделать. Слепую. То, что самое значит слепой, так что насчет памяти я не уверен, что именно вот все 7-фигурный бас только мог запоминать. But yes, it's like outstanding in memory is not an average case, but such stuff also happens. So how can we explain this way?
Just to throw in quickly, the concept of seven plus or minus 2 items in short-term memory is largely seen as a factual limit of all humans, that geniuses, top cognitive people cannot break the limit of the limitations of short-term memory. The difference is that they chunk together larger pieces of information. So a beginning person, they look at the board and they see 32 discrete units. There's 8 pawns on each side, a king, a bishop, knight. And a stronger player could chunk larger pieces together. So even maybe someone like Apperwiesen that does blindfold play, he could see a whole position, including all 32 pieces on the board.
As one chunk?
But to him, that's just one chunk. And that's largely because of prior experience and work, because he's played so much games, he's thought about it, that it's a comprehensive, just like Igor. I don't have to think that Igor is the conglomerate of IgOR. It's just one unit to me, and there could be strong units like a whole paragraph, maybe phone numbers or any piece of information that you've said over so many times, that a strong chess player conceivably could have a complete position, everything on the board, and that would only be one chunk.
Окей. Просто те, кто не только сильные игроки, именно те, кто, допустим, хорошо запоминают всякие вещи, они смотрят как бы на кусок информации как вот один юнит, то есть одна единица. То есть не смотрят там на, допустим, вот позиция это 32 фигуры, начальная позиция, ты смотришь это как на просто одну единицу и запоминаешь эту полностью позицию как одна единица. И вот поэтому это развивается как бы с опытом, это приходит с опытом, то есть сперва ты видишь в каждую фигуру отдельности, и ты анализируешь там, допустим, в памяти, анализируешь там какую-то часть позиции, ты смотришь там на пару-тройку фигур, и со временем у тебя расширяется это мировоззрение и доходит до того уровня, что ты можешь прямо смотреть на одну позицию вот одним шагом, даже в памяти, просто запомнить позицию, и как бы и вот эта позиция как бы это как одна сплошная единица.
А я тебе скажу, что так и есть, с учетом, что у меня ассоциативное мышление, я запоминаю как раз визуальное, да, представление.
Там можно запомнить там 7 позиций одновременно.
Ну, как бы одновременно нет, но я имею в виду, что
Вот.
когда играешь,
Ну,
повторяется, и
да.
потом вспоминаешь, блин, это уже было, что ты тут делала? Знаешь, вот так вот.
She also she just mentioned that it's not only strong players, so she also has some associations, looking and suppositions. So she remembers some sorts of chunks she had before, she prior to her experience, and she uses all those chunks. I mean, she uses a better way. So the game experience is the stuff, in my opinion, that builds those chunks.
Yeah, I mean, we could
Yes.
do a whole stream on chunking, and
Yeah,
basically
sure.
all memory techniques are a form of chunking. There's mnemonics, there's the major system of converting numbers into sounds.
Yeah.
There's the method of Loki, the ancient Greek method. But anyone who's competed at any mental activity that requires huge feats of the human mind of memory, basically every single form of memory technique is a form of chunking, and that's why
Yeah.
I'm mentioning it. But we're not going to. I just wanted to mention the chunking idea, and so De Groot's had two type things he did in his study. One thing, he showed players positions, and then he took the position away and tried to get players to replicate the position. So, if he showed a player a position for 5 seconds or a period of a very brief time, and then remove the position and ask players to replicate the position, that was something that stronger players were significantly better at. Of all the various pure cognitive level skills where you could test stronger players versus weaker players, one of the biggest differences was this ability to recreate positions that were shown for a short
Okay.
period of time, and that's where chunking theory became developed from this studies of De Groot. But I'm not going to be focusing on chunking for what we're doing today. I just wanted to mention that. So if Igor wants to say any final thoughts on chunking, and then I'll move into the other part of the Groot study that we'll be doing right now.
Просто говорил, что вот в период исследования как бы он просто показывал там позицию, потом убирал с доски, и вот сильные игроки могли воспроизвести эту же позицию намного лучше, чем более слабые игроки. И вот теория вот именно вот единиц памяти, чанкин, вот в этом, в принципе, подтверждалось. Вот. Но сейчас, конечно, на этом не будет концентрироваться. Начнем уже наши, как говорится, задачки. Более интересная тема. Okay, so let's start with our problems.
Yeah, so De Groot's method, which, I mean, really seems pretty simple. In 1945, he was the first person to do it, and now everybody does basic banter videos online. But what De Groot did was show people a position, and then he just asked them to think out loud of their thoughts on the position. And this was even before tape recorders, and he took notes, and he just wrote down everything that they said and recorded it. And then from the various players and strength levels of people that what they thought about the position, he made conclusions about strength levels and the thought abilities of various players. And if anybody is familiar with Jeremy Silman's popular book, The Amateur's Mind, that's basically what he does in The Amateur's Mind. Is he has players of various strength levels look at positions and say their thoughts on the position, and the difference is marketable. That that the stronger players see and understand substantially more than weaker players, and that is what we're going to do. And I prepared a series of positions that will hopefully be able to demonstrate that for CrazyHouse.
Значит, следующим этапом исследования Де Грута было вот не просто позицию восстановить, а вот просто поставить позицию и вот начинать, и что думают об этой позиции разные шахматисты разных уровней. И он дошел до того, что то есть, сильные шахматисты, они намного больше об этой позиции могли рассказать, и как бы намного более правильные вещи, чем более слабые шахматисты. И это примерно вот то, что мы сейчас займемся, как бы тоже шахматисты разных уровней, плюс-минус. И вот он будет нам давать позиции, и мы будем говорить, там, что мы об этой позиции думаем. Вот предпочитаем все такое. Попробуем вот как бы повторить исследование Декрута, посмотрим, что из этого получится. Okay.
Have you heard of Jeremy Silman's The Amateur's Mind?
About what?
It's just a very famous book in English, actually, a Jewish American. Okay. But Jeremy Silman, international master, has a very popular book called The Amateur's Mind, where he uses a similar de Groot method of writing out what players of various strength levels think about similar positions.
Ну, еще был... What's his name also?
Jeremy Silman, S-I-L-M-A-N.
Значит, Джереми Силман, он взял этот метод де Грута и тоже попробовал против вот, шахматистов разных уровней и попробовал вот, как бы этот метод использовать. Вот, и написал известную книгу тоже об этом. Okay. So we'll do the same as Jeremy Silman.
Okay, so maybe we'll have Zaraza go first.
Okay.
And I'm going to show... Let's just do a puzzle real quick to get started. And, I saw Blitz Bullet is playing, Jasugi. And what I mentioned is it's not necessarily that stronger players could see and calculate more.
Just remove the arrows because it is like...
Okay, well, you see the first move. And I don't know if I could remove that. But this was in, Blitz Bullet's final game against... finals against Spinal Tap, and Blitz Bullet missed a maiden 6. So in the in English you call it a motif, a certain, which is really a chunk, that there's a little catch that is that if you're familiar with it, it's obvious, and if you're not familiar with it, you would probably never think of it. And I'm not sure if you saw this. I actually
don't see it even now.
Was commenting on the video, and I said it was mate. I saw that this was mate, and Blitz Bullet, who's substantially better than Duvet, missed this mate.
Yeah, now I see it. I think so.
And Blitz Bullet went on to lose the game.
I see the
mate.
Okay.
Bishop xd3, and then he gets mated. And obviously the first move.
Я бы взяла белым слоном черного слона.
Вот это то, что сделал Black, ты получил там мат в несколько ходов. She told me she would take it to protect the bishop. I said that's what this bullet did.
Не, ну сейчас ход черных же.
Ход черных, да. Ход черных.
А за кого надо решить?
I could play the first 3 moves, and then it becomes a maiden 3. So from this position, it's really the 4th move that is difficult to see, and it's maybe what Blitz Bullet missed. So if you think queen takes rook, queen takes queen, queen takes pawn, queen takes queen, and then it looks like white is just winning. Except in this position, maybe Zaraza could see there's a clear win here for black.
Как вот здесь белый выигрывает, черный выигрывает.
Как черный выигрывает?
Да. Стандартный, как говорится, стандартный мотив такой, очень важный.
Подожди, черный. Мне все время хочется белыми ходить, потому что это перевернуто.
You can just like flip the board that will be down. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So going back, you're saying like these first, you have to see, for chess, you have to be able to visualize the position a few moves out. So if you're just looking at the forced checks, and then you come here, and then you're like, well. Now what do you do?
Stop it,
and so this is relatively an easier problem. It's a more difficult problem because you have to visualize.
On H1.
Of course.
Yeah. So the idea here is, it's not super complicated, but the idea is you have to sacrifice. I don't have my mouse plugged in, so I have to use my keypad. But so you could play a rook at H1.
King take a rook.
Yeah, the king is forced to take. And then you could take the queen with check, and king g1 is the only move. And here,
and now I'm mating too.
Yeah, just queen at e1, has
And
to
rook at
block, and
h1.
then rook at h1. So this, I would call in. How do you say? You know what I mean, Igor, when I say motif?
Мотив, это in the Russian same, мотив. Это называется мотив. То есть это очень, очень стандартный мотив, где вот it's very good word, yeah, I remember. Вот такой мотив шахмат. То есть очень часто так бывает, что мы ставим, вот мы жертвуем там на f2, ставим ладью на h1 и бьем шахом потом на f2. То есть очень часто такое бывает. Или просто заранее. There's another motif with the smothered mate that you like. I missed such one. I missed in my decisive game on CWC. I didn't see such a mate. It was like total blunder. I mean, it was very easy mating, and I didn't see that rook at h1 move. So I lost that game, unfortunately.
Yeah. So if in terms of chunking theory, so from this initial position where Blitz Bullet blunders and plays bishop takes d3 and misses the check pattern, you're saying just to see that after this series of exchanges that you're going to be able to play the rook back at h1 and continue the checking sequence. And so it's, let me show this problem I had yesterday against strike 2867, and he actually missed a mate here. He was white, and I guess he could have played simple queen at g8.
Try to find the mate. Yeah, it's easy. It's easy. Yeah,
a similar, although it's kind of difficult here. This mate that he missed, because you have to see that he's only going to get a rook. If you look, he's going to have to use his queen.
Yeah, but you see that the king has no escape. I mean, it's like two or three variations to calculate.
So he's substantially better, and he misses this mate, and
bishop at g7, not a rook at g8.
Well, that also, I guess that also
works.
That's also a cute mate, because if he takes with the queen, then rook at d8 defense, and if he takes the bishop, then rook at g8.
That's easier. I mean, more forcing, like rook g8 or rook g8 or.
Okay, so he misses that, and then play another few moves, and then here he gives me. He didn't have he doesn't have a mate, so he just takes the pawn, a reasonable move, and
you have something, right?
So if you look here, there's already a mate, and I see it's my only chance. I just go for it. The knight at g3.
Yeah, of course, it's also easy mate. I think
I didn't see mate in 9, and you'll see how it opens up, and I miss. So knight takes, and if you notice a few things about the position, one is my bishop. So if he opens up with the f pawn, I have possible smothered attacks, and you'll see this bishop comes in for the mate, and also so
still you don't have enough pieces. You take the rook.
Yeah, so he has to take, and here he could have taken one more time, although it's probably, I'm not sure.
Take on h4 and take the rook, and then you mate.
King h2 is a little bit better, actually. So
it's defense on g3. Okay, rook, queen take h4.
So I didn't actually play that. I played bishop there. Queen takes h4 was better. Let me get a few more moves in the position. I take here. He blocks with the queen, and here
bishop takes g3. Bishop takes g3.
Yeah, so here it is mate in 6, and it's pretty complicated. And I saw it. Like I didn't necessarily see the whole calculation, but I saw, because CrazyHouse, you kind of have to go for it, because at this point, if I don't mate him, I'm certainly going to get mated, and so I have to look for forced checks, and so the forced checks kind of lead the way. So I don't know if Igor or Zaraza, you want to think about this, or you want to just.
I'll let Zaraza first. I don't see the mate. Найди здесь мат, если есть. Говорят, мат 6 ходов.
And for I'm going to show you the de Groot's thought and choice.
Белыми или черными?
Was more in positions. It wasn't for forced mates. So when de Groot did his studies, he didn't do like forced mate sequences. But for the experiment, Zaraza, what you should do is just think out loud. say what's coming to your mind, what you're thinking about, why you
Сейчас.
think certain moves might work, and just say it out loud whether you
But
might be right or wrong.
it's obvious. I mean, everybody would say like taking the pawn.
Yeah, there's no bishop x3. There's no choice.
Да, слоном я тоже думала.
Really, here is the complicated. Like, I mean, you could see the notation. I was kind of proud of myself because I was in this position, and I was like, like, man, I'm lost. And then I saw that I actually had mate, and so I was kind of proud of myself for seeing this mate. You could see it up on the board, because I played the mate, but it's also a nice motif.
Okay.
Так, второго коня не будет, да? Ну, тут если только брать ферзем ферзя, чтобы шах следующий пролить. Нет смысла брать ферзем пешку.
GH, что дальше?
H3.
GH.
Потом ладью на G2, может быть.
Там слон на C6, не забывай. Слон на C6 он бьет.
Значит, коня поднимаем, но у нас второго коня нет, жалко.
Я думаю, что-то вот сперва ладью на H1 как бы поставить, как бы...
Об этом я тоже думала, но он закроет свою ладью. Спёртый мат? А чем?
Вот хороший вопрос. I was thinking, okay, she thinks of that taking on H3.
Либо все-таки брать ферзем пешку, но он заберет.
Yeah, I mean, queen takes H3 is basically forced because the only other check is.
I was thinking of something models ideas like rook at H1 and something like G1.
Yeah, I mean, knowing that there's mate from process of elimination, you could almost, and even from I was playing, I don't think I saw the mate. I just saw like I'm going to lose. So and at this point, the mate becomes a little bit more clear, and it's kind of a cute, clever mate even here. But if you
rook at F2, yeah.
Можно слоном пойти на G1.
Не, ну шах, берет ладью дальше.
Но зато ты сможешь поставить ферзя или ладью на F2.
Да. She's right. Bishop G1, check. Yeah, absolutely right.
No, Bishop G1 does not work. It would just take...
Может быть, ферзя там надо было жертвовать, я не знаю.
Bishop G1, it would just be rook takes, and then, if you drop a rook or queen, you would be able to drop a queen.
Да, теперь идешь ферзем на G2.
Нет, ферзем на G1 поставь, ферзь на G1, ладья бьет, потом ладья F2 и ладья H2. Okay, so queen at G1, yeah. Rook takes, bishop takes, and then rook F2, rook H2.
Yeah, so that, if he plays king H1, rook at H2 immediately is mate. And
so another rook, so even
actually, two rooks. Even if I
Можно
didn't
было
have
одно и
that
то же
extra rook, it
поставить.
would be mate. So
nice.
even if this was like a puzzle, even if I didn't have the extra rook, it would still be mate. And so that kind of they call it rinse and repeat. And this really, I don't know if it's the same as a rinse and repeat, but saying first you're going to take the queen in order that you have something.
It's like in chess. It's like in chess. There are combinations when you move move some piece from guarding some square. So it's exactly what happened here. Like you move your rook from guarding F file, and you just with after all that.
And even here, when he allowed me to play, because this position I'm lost unless I made him. I basically have to play knight G3. If it was a position where the material's more even and black's king was better defended.
You don't have nothing because everything is knight. I thought about rook G8 or stuff like that, but there's also knight at F7.
So at this point, I didn't see, it's a mate in 9, and I didn't see mate in 9. I just saw that, if I don't check him and I don't do something, I'm going to lose, and that's my only check. And I have the double knights there, and I went for it. And even here, I play the queen x h4 is better. Bishop at x4 wasn't that great, although it would have been a different type mate. That Actually, it
Yes.
would have been a similar type mate if I hadn't done
Bishop.
that.
Instead of queen, there would be bishop, but nothing other. Yeah. Just a bishop. Yeah, to take queen and mate.
Я вот это тоже просчитывал вариант.
Ну да, это как я. Вот именно то, что вот он смотрел, то, что ферзь на g1, это очень сильный ход, как бы. Именно ферзь на g1. Не слон g1, просто то, что именно ферзь на g1, чтобы не было защиты потом.
Okay, I put that up more for fun, we'll say, because the de Groot studies weren't really forced mate. They were in more middle game positions where they were unclear. So I wanted to show a few opening studies of very common opening positions. This first one is a source of a lot of victories for Duvid, and I get these victories for black.
I think you crushed me yesterday. You crushed me with I don't know what. I think that was an opening that you crushed me yesterday in the tournament.
Yeah, so a lot of these, I played enough games. I know my openings, but this one's with black, and a lot of white players walk straight into it. And I'm going to show even the Opera Reason walked into it, and I should have beat him. That even Opera Reason himself, and the idea is simple, that white wants to play c3 and d4, and if white's king isn't castled, this motif here. So if white hadn't castled first, very common. You see, pawn takes pawn, knight takes knight, knight takes knight, bishop takes knight, queen takes knight, and then knight at c2, forking the king and queen. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. Like on chess.com, where they pair you against 1,000 players, I think I've won over 100 games with people walking into that.
But still winning. I mean, all this position. I mean, white is some initiative. Can take on f7 then. Just show the variation. Can then take on f7. I think stuff like that.
Let me just show the.
No, I mean, show the actual position. I don't think that it's that losing. I mean,
well, I'm going to show. This is extremely common on Lead Chess. It doesn't happen, because they don't pair you against such weak players. But on
bishop c4, bishop c4.
On chess.com, all sorts of players. You'll play right into this, and it's basically. It's basically game over right away. I'm not sure if you've seen this.
Of course, yeah. This is of course, but I mean, after bishop c4 and castle, things are much different than that. I mean, you played bishop c4 and then castled, and third move bishop c4. What did you show the last opening?
So just here on all rating levels on Lead Chess, white has walked into this almost 300 times.
Okay.
And even just 2,200 and
Если
over,
берешь вилку конем.
white has walked into this 4 times. So this version, with the king already castled, is not as clear. So here, pawn takes, bishop takes, knight takes, queen takes,
and knight c2, and then
here knight c2 would be
exactly. It's not that
knight
strong.
c2 would be a jump move. White would just be winning. Bishop takes f7.
Exactly. That's what I said. I'm putting the bishop takes f7. So knight at e5 maybe here, but or castle.
Well, so the move here is,
bishop e6. Bishop e6 also strong.
No, there's only one move here for black that's devastating.
Really? Okay, let's think.
And if you wanted to, we don't have to do the de Groot study, but if you wanted to do the de Groot study, the idea would be you would just think out loud. So if you want to try it, Igor, just think out loud. Every thought that comes to your head, just say it out loud. and you can do
Okay,
it in English or
so
Russian.
если у тебя какие-то ходы, ты тоже можешь предложить, как бы.
Ну, здесь только конь-то заберет ладью угловой, но он оттуда живым не выберется.
Я хочу
Толку.
как-то использовать там вилку на f6. То есть у меня есть несколько вариантов.
Так,
Или пешку на
F-
h3, пешку на h3 поставить, или там, не знаю, слон e6 какой-нибудь. То есть, если бьет там на e2 вилка. I think opponent at h3.
Просто сейчас размен-то неравнозначный был.
Нет, pawn at
Yeah.
h3, I think, or bishop at e6. Bishop e6 also very strong, I think.
Just to put in the analysis,
Okay.
your pawn at h3 gives black about an even game or an advantage. That's the only winning move here. Pawn at h3 is the only winning move.
Okay.
And one of the largest reasons is that you can't take the pawn because of the threat of the knight
Of course, yeah.
fork. And
You can take on f7 or...
if you see opening book here,
Если пешку поставишь, он возьмет слоном пешку, сделает шаг, а потом коня впендюрит.
Ну и дальше. Дальше-то ничего страшного.
И будешь бегать. Ага.
Это ничего страшного. Minus 2 is nothing, I mean, nothing crazy else, with all the respect.
well, let me just ask you, what would you play here if you're white? And we say
Take on
that-
f7. Take on f7, I think.
yeah, so taking off f7 is
And
basically
then knight
losing move. So
h5,
now taking
knight
off
h5
7,
and jh
it's already
Yeah.
-6. I think the more it looks at it, it even could go up to like higher. And if you look at
Okay.
opening book, black has close to 75% winning
you
chance
don't
from
take
this
it?
position.
You don't take the bishop? You don't take the bishop?
Well,
I mean,
if you
if
just
you
play
take-
bishop at f3, it's about an equal position. So from this position, if white realizes that
Pawn at g4, then I don't know.
but as you can see from opening book, and this is from Master Play, the vast majority of players go for bishop takes f7.
Yeah,
and
that's what should I do. But I
In
mean,
reality, king f8 is a better move than king
Yeah.
f7. I almost always
because
take
of
the bishop.
knight g5, and you can take the pawn. Otherwise,
Well, you really
you can
can't.
take the pawn. Yeah, you're
So
guarding
if you-
f3. That's
if-
that's what I thought. Yeah.
For the sake of the learning method, if you and Zaraza just want to talk out loud your thoughts of this position, and just look at the opening book and see that black has close to an 80% winning rate here. So like I'm teaching you that because I'm saying I win all the time, including against strong players. Even the other day, I think you
Брать тут нельзя, да, тут
Duvid,
надо датировать.
Test Viking.
На f8 сильнее.
Test Viking, the
Even after taking you mean 80%?
this is only 4 weeks ago, and this is a Swedish international master, Test Viking, and I destroyed him. And he did the obvious, and the reason why I'm showing you this is because of course white is going to play bishop takes f7, and white thinks that they're winning here. I'm sure that Test Viking, when he was sitting there, thought that he was easily going to win here, and he plays the obvious move, knight at g5.
Yeah. And
And it's
king
basically
f8.
lost. At this point, basically game over. White wins. I just play king at f8, and
You take on h3. I don't think it's in terms of game over.
well, you tried king at. Well, the
You
problem
can
is if you,
take on h3.
the problem if you
King-
take it
no,
h3.
No, with the pawn. With the pawn.
Well, no. I mean, what's black? If it's black to move here, what's black's move?
You have also on e2. You have also an e2 check. Yeah, that's the problem.
I mean, so once you play bishop at takes
Проблема, что он
f7,
и на e2 тоже вилка висит. Ты
the
не
knight
можешь...
at e2 becomes a serious threat. So that's
Yeah,
why he plays
yes.
queen to
Пешку
c4.
нельзя, слона этого нельзя было брать конем.
Пешку нельзя было, наверное, брать на f7 уже.
Actually,
Просто
you
Нет,
can't. Why Scorpion
слону
also?
там, может быть, и можно было.
Ну вот нежелательно, получается плохой ход. Слон бьет все плохой. Now you play like, I don't know, bishop at g8 or even
Ну, с
d5.
слоном забирать все равно. Да.
Well, the most common move I played here, knight at knight.
95, exactly. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
he's in a lot of trouble here. He just moves his queen back.
Yeah, of course. I like that here.
And then
here.
yeah, I just take the
The take.
pawn,
Yeah.
and he it's devastating here. this position is look.
Play
I'm already
pawn at h6
20 if
or bishop at h4 even. Bishop at h4 very strong. Yeah, absolutely winning.
If he plays rook at e1,
bishop at h4. Bishop at h4.
Bishop h4. It's just devastating here. White is lost.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's why I showed this position because I get this all the time. Almost every tournament I play in, I get this position for black multiple times. And here's Test Viking. This guy's an international master, and he probably he walks straight into it.
Ну просто говорит он, эта позиция, кажется, sorry, I just interrupt you, им все, то есть кажется, подавляющему большинству игроков, включая там сильно там международных мастеров, все такое, что на F7 вроде, и мне тоже так казалось, что вроде бить на F7 как бы желательно и получается очень хорошая позиция, но на самом деле вот то есть в ходе анализов это с ровным счетом наоборот, то есть у черных здесь почти выиграно, как ни странно это звучит. Но это ослабление у черных почти выиграл.
Слушай, я понимаю, но если бы играла я черными, и слон прилетел бы на f7, я бы просто отошла под слона, я бы не брала его.
She said that even not taking the bishop is even better. I agree with that. I mean, even stronger. Just king f8. No, not this position. Yeah.
Yes, I wanted to show this because people
walk
into
it. И там, как бы выиграно. Просто выиграно.
The reason why this is such an important position is because white really thinks that they're winning. If they don't look at with computer analysis, I've had a lot of players that you could tell they don't look over their games afterwards with computer analysis because they keep on playing the same thing. But your average person looking at this position would probably just think it's better. Like I just sacked a piece for a pawn, and I'd say like this pesky pawn at h3, but pawn at h3, white has to make a defensive move. If white doesn't play something defensive, and
it really helps. You put your bishop on f3, and then I take on g2. You take with the bishop, and then I put another pawn on h3, or
Yeah, so black is already just slightly better here, but I'm saying white could salvage. So let me show my game against Opperwiesen, and I was shocked that Opperwiesen played into this. I'm looking here, and Opperwiesen plays d4, and I'm like, he's got to know this is Opperwiesen. He was the last year's world champion, and here I take this. I'm like, he probably he could play queen takes bishop, but it's like I'm already black and I have an equal game, and so he played. I'll put the computer analysis on just so you can see that. And the computer takes a second to see, so he plays knight at g5, and maybe Opperwiesen hadn't seen this position. If you could see, this was just a 1-2 game, and he's down on time here. He's already used 30 seconds, and I know this position. I know I'm better here, and so I just castle. He takes the knight, and so I still have pawn at h3, and he takes it, because and I just take with the bishop because I still have the threat of knight, and he has to do something. This is a bad position. You can see Duke already has an advantage against Opperwiesen. It's a 1-2 game. He's down to 20 seconds, so he plays pawn at g2. I take. He takes with the king, and I should have played knight at h4. So I got scared, like the intimidation factor playing Opper, and I decided to play the pawn at e5 just because I was scared of like a queen sack, the computer analysis here, but like I have a crushing attack against Opper out of the opening with black, and I blow it. So it goes on, and then here, he's down to 10 seconds, and he plays this, and it's minus 20 here. Opper only has 4 seconds. I have close to a minute, and I missed my chance to get a scalp against Opper here. I should have just done g takes h3, and for whatever reason, I didn't, and now already he's got the advantage back, and he goes on to beat me. And even in this position, it's kind of close because you have the mate threats, but and now I'm lost. But you look. I had Opera crushed, and it's the interesting dynamic of this position that White thinks that they're winning when really they're losing.
Okay. Ну, то есть действительно одна из позиций, вообще, надо искать вообще, при подготовке, как бы очень хорошо вот найти такие позиции, где вот кажется, что вот одна из сторон выигрывает, то есть и вот против этого как бы на самом деле, то есть с компьютером легче оценить эту позицию намного проще, если компьютер говорит обратное, очень хорошо идти на такого рода позиции. Получается, что очень много игроков, то есть это подавляющее большинство, как бы идут вот на такие варианты, которые кажутся хорошими, то есть практически выигрывающими, но оказывается все на самом деле с точностью наоборот. И вот
У меня есть пара ловушек таких, да, когда я вижу нужный расклад уже разыгранного гамбита, то я пользуюсь случаем. И
вот какие, можешь показать? She also has sort of variations. I just asked her to show, maybe. Если ты можешь показать, будет неплохо.
В чем показать? Где показать?
Показать вот эти дебютные ловушки, о которых ты говоришь.
Нет, я имею в виду, как мне ее на экран-то вывести.
Share screen. У тебя есть опция внизу, там share screen называется.
Ну, сейчас.
Или просто по ходу продиктовать, как бы, то есть показать, не знаю.
Yeah, so I get this position almost
Сейчас, мне
every
же
single
нужно
arena.
войти в это. Сейчас, подожди, пожалуйста.
У тебя вот где этот экран, где
This
у
is
нас
such a
три
common
камеры?
basic idea for White. Basically, every major tournament I play in, I have this exact same position, black, and I know, like from the cognitive thinking, that White feels that they're in the driver's seat here. That usually White does not realize that they're in trouble here, and they're thinking of like, oh man, I'm about to finish Davidoff. So it's an interesting cognitive. Like I've done my homework, I know the position, and I almost expect it. Like it's almost guaranteed if I play in any big, even a daily or a weekly or a shield, I'm going to get this exact position with black, and I'm going to win.
Сейчас, пока говорите, я сейчас построю эту
When you face
позицию.
exactly with the move like a knight at g5, which offer upper plate, instead of taking on d4. So how you move on from here? I mean, in this game, he played knight at g5. He could play pawn at h6, or not taking on f7. So different, frustrated. I mean, almost like here, yeah. You play pawn at h3. You play on knight g5 or pawn at h6, maybe even. Pawn at h6. You know what? Pawn at h6. How do you proceed from here?
Well, I mean, pawn at h6 isn't a serious threat, and you can see actually pawn at h6 is a substantially better move, and White has much better chances. You're playing pawn at h6, and you can see Test Viking. I beat Test Viking another game where Test Viking played pawn at h6. And it's like Test Vikings, and I'm only a 2000 rated player. But
now taking on the fun, yeah.
My threat is much stronger, and I'm
pawn at h6 is not good. You can even win a queen, stuff like that. But knight at g5. No, okay, knight g5. Let's move to Povez's move. Knight at
g5. Yeah. I mean, bishop takes f7 is the obvious move. So the point is that White is up material, and White usually does not sense the danger of the position, because if you look at the position, Black doesn't have much. All I have is a pawn defended by the bishop.
When I play CrazyHouse, I always look also defensive motifs. So I see that my bishop covers e2. So not necessarily I will take on f7, and I see I have not that much pieces. So maybe I will think twice before taking on f7.
Well, the problem I'm saying is that, I mean, like I'm interested in cognitive science and decision making, and so I'm concluding that White doesn't perceive the danger that they're in here, and obviously because they're already up material, they already have the queen developed. The bishop.
There are players that will take it in consideration also these defensive weaknesses of this position. So I'm not sure that there's an obvious conclusion for what you are saying, but according to the statistics, maybe you are right. So if you
Well, I'm telling
tell
you
me
as a
how,
fact, I
okay,
win with black all the time. Test Viking is an international Swedish grandmaster, and I
okay,
beat him twice in this position. And I
okay,
played in the arena, this week, and I beat a 2,000 player, this position. I constantly beat 2200s because they walk right into this position.
okay,
And I've studied this position. I know this position. Um, I purposely walk into this position because I know that generally white feels that they're going to win here. And as say that if you look at opening book, this is 2200 and above, and uh, of the over 50% of the players jump right in with bishop takes f7.
okay.
So I mean, there's also the statistical because you were talking about decision making,
Statistics, yeah.
and you say that there's percentage, like it's been tested, and we have from tournaments that 2200 plus players in this position, 59 out of all the games here, about 80 games, about 60%, 70% of all the 22 plus 100 players in this position play bishop takes f7, which is already about -7 for black.
Окей. Значит, ты просто говоришь, что вот есть вот такого рода позиции, мы можем посмотреть на статистику, и мы видим, что в данной позиции, то есть люди там свыше 2000, в 70% случаев бьют на F7. И когда мы видим вот такую статистику, то мы можем, как говорится, смело идти в этот вариант, как бы, и просто выигрывать партии одно за другой. То есть, хроническая болезнь, как говорится, CrazyHouse игроков, что вот недостаточно сосредоточить. Допустим, я бы посмотрел, что мой слон, допустим, держит поле E2. Я бы не торопился, что у меня не так много фигур. Я, может быть, побил бы на F7, в конце концов, но я бы не торопился это делать. Но, говорит, статистически подавляющее большинство игроков, они недостаточно... То есть они переоценивают свои защитные способности и недооценивают свои атакующие мотивы, то есть атакующие силы. Вот, и поэтому как бы стоит, как говорится, на это идти. Okay, so we just discussed all this position.
Nice. Yeah, you don't have to translate what you said, but I just say the interesting psychological effect. In English, the 5 Ps, proper preparation prevents poor performance. I'll put that in the chat. Proper preparation prevents poor
performance. Yeah.
Performance. I say that over a lot. And you're saying, because I've analyzed this position, I know it's better for black, and I've played it enough times to know that white usually does not sense the danger, and I win probably 80+% of the time, even against strong players. And I know as a fact that, like, if I play in a big tournament, that a few players are going to walk right into this. It's a factual occurrence to me that, like, without doubt, every major tournament, a few white players, including master strength, walk straight into this.
Okay.
So that's the proper your preparation.
Preparation.
The other ones. Oh, actually, sorry. The other positions I prepared aren't so.
Еще другие позиции, которые хочу показать.
So I prepared 4 positions. That one was the most clear cut of the opening positions that people walk into, and just proper preparation. Like I know people are going to walk into it, and I know that I'm very likely to win. And I thought that I don't know if you play openings, if it's likely that you would come into this position.
Almost never play E5. I'm being crushed because I don't know. I don't know the theory. I really am very like theory stuff, and I don't remember stuff. So I have 2 problems. So
for anybody who watches this position has been played over 6,000 times, and even this position here has been almost 1,000 times. H3 has been played close to 800 times, and bishop takes f7 has been played 420 times. So this is an extremely common opening motif. That's why I was mentioning it. So if you and Zaraza don't play this opening, you're not going to expect, but maybe a few people watching the video
Maybe I will start to play this
self.
opening.
So
Maybe I will
let me.
start to play.
I prepared another quick idea, and this is very common. If you look at opening book right here,
Okay.
you-
Same. Yeah,
Bishop
that's-
G4
Yeah.
is so I have the computer analysis on, so I'm going to turn it off. But you see, Bishop G4 is already plus 10 for white, and
Wow, really?
if you look at opening book, castles for black here is probably the best move, and it's about equal. I play this for black, and I castle here.
Bishop B4
Bishop
is
takes
plus
G4. Bishop G4 is the second most common move and has been played over 12,000 times, and is already plus 10
My goodness.
for
Why?
white. So
You know what?
Zaraza,
Just turn it. Please flip the board. I just want to see why it's plus 10. I have to think about this position. No, I mean you can flip the board. So from white's perspective.
oh yeah, this one's a white. This one's a best
Okay.
move for white. But I was saying this
Well,
is
Почти
this
самый
is the
естественный вход,
single
как бы.
most common opening in Crazy House. Most people play E4,
Yes.
E5, Bishop C4, Bishop C5, and castles. And Bishop G4, which is a losing move, is the second most common move. It's been played over 12,000 times. So I'll let you and Zaraza, if you just want to talk out loud, what your thoughts on this position.
I'm just trying to... Значит, в этой позиции рокировка – это самый естественный ход, там равенство. Но слон G4 – это второй по популярности ход, и компьютер оценит эту позицию плюс 10 в пользу белых. То есть почти выиграно. Совершенно как бы естественный такой ход, но позиция плюс 10. Этот ход проигрывает. Мне очень интересно посмотреть, почему. То есть бит на F7. Пешка на F3.
There's a four-move combination here, really, that...
yeah, I'm thinking out bishop take a7, knight g5, and taking on g4, stuff like that.
Yeah, so I'll put it in a second. If you look at opening book, most people play bishop g5 here. Over 7,000 people play bishop g5. Bishop f7 has played 2,700 times, and that's with all up to 1,600. If you take just to master strength play, over 90% of the players have played bishop takes f7. So overall, the minority of players play bishop takes f7 here, but for master strength players, over half of the players play bishop takes f7.
У сильных игроков 90% бьют здесь на f7. Просто это is it the right move?
Well, so it's not a clear win. So the position you get, bishop takes f7, king takes f7, knight g5. Usually king f8, or it could conceivably
g8. Take on g4,
and then
take on g4. Yeah, take it on g4. So king e7 should be played, I think. King e8 maybe.
Yeah, so queen takes g4, knight takes g4, and then so here there's a few different variations, and so basically after knight takes g4, if you look at
don't see plus 10 here, as plus 5 also.
It varies, but it's like plus 7. So if king takes f8, the next move is going to be queen takes g4 basically no matter what. So if king to f8, queen takes g4, knight takes, then you have knight e6 for the fork.
Yeah.
So more commonly, you might get king back to
king e7. E8, okay, and then d7.
And then queen takes, then knight takes, and the move here, if you see, I mean, Zaraza.
Yes, we see, but I was thinking of
this is the most common missed from chess studies.
And then mate.
Well, no, it's not mate here. So you're actually, it's a long-term strategy. The move is bishop here, and then you're just going to pick up.
Тут коня забрать.
And then you're just going to pick up the knight. I mean, you could play f, but you're just going to pick up the knight, and then you have a strategic advantage here with the pieces. So in this position,
Потом пешку на d7, может быть, если он даст.
Нет, he has right to castle, right? Castle here, the black.
Well, I mean, black has already moved the king. But
Даже
if
рокировки
black
нет так ничего.
if black plays
Yeah.
like king here, the idea is you're just going to pick up the knight, and if you see like Opperwiesen, he's a master at these kind of just like long checks. It's the most commonly missed moves, even by grandmasters. The across the board checks that pick up a piece, and if you think about
sorts of mating or stuff like that.
well, if you think
That's
about
very
this position,
dangerous. I mean,
if you
it's
think
very
about this
dangerous.
position here, you see the computer analysis, it's plus 10. And if you
No.
look at the master play, white wins about 90% of the positions here. So, I mean, I don't know if you want to talk out the position. Why do you think black only has a queen to place? The material is not that huge of advantage. White has 5 pieces and 2 pawns I mean, white has 2 pieces and 2 pawns per queen. So even material-wise, you could consider black even. Black has a queen for 2 pieces and 2 pawns.
2 pieces in CrazyHouse, 2 pieces and 2 pawns are worth more than queen. So even materially, we are better. I mean,
yeah. So let's go back to this position where I say, among all players, almost 40% of players play bishop g5 here, and among all players, only about 20% of players play bishop takes f7. Among top players, about 50% of players play bishop takes f7. And I mean, have you ever had this position? Have you seen this position before? You've seen this trick?
Of course. But I would take on f7 no matter what. But I don't think I didn't even barely think that it's plus 10 for white. I think it should be like equal, maybe a bit advantage for white. No, not that much. That's one my consideration. But yes, I would take on f7 undoubtedly.
Yes, I wanted to show something useful that is an extremely common position. So even like a 1500 player, you're likely to get this position. So if like you're an average strength CrazyHouse player and you haven't thought about this before and you play in an arena, you're likely to even in the next arena to be able to use this trick that it's such a common opening trap, so to say.
Yes.
Like I say, like every single arena, people walk right into this multiple times.
То есть надо доходить, это очень, очень частый дебют, очень многие это играют, и даже вот не сильным игроком, как можно пойти на такую позицию, просто взять на 7.
Я эти дебюты играла очень много в 2018 году. И выигрывала свой топ-5 лист как раз очень часто вот с этим дебютом.
She was playing those variations in 2018, and she was winning a lot of these lines. Почему ты прекратила их играть?
Потому что на Е4 почти все играют, на d4 намного меньше. И я все время проигрывала Метину, большое количество просто игр, и в какой-то момент психанула, стала учить и играть d4, только из Метина.
Metin was the cause she left e4, first move before. Почему же не... А что он играл на e4?
Он хорошую линию держал на e4. И мои фишки вот эти с жертвой слона на f7 с ним не прокатывали. Если не жертвовать, а полностью разводить линию, да, я проигрывала в качестве. Я стала играть d4. Где-то вот как раз с весны, ближе к лету, наверное, вот так. Прошлого года.
Ну, там есть много всяких вариантов, что там на f7 жертвуется, там пешка на g6 вставляется.
Сейчас я найду, подождите. Игра с Креном, по-моему, у меня была.
No, I mean she was used to play e4, e5, and those variations and taking on f7.
Well, I say if she wants to show something, she can move the pieces. It should work.
Довиду я сейчас скину в личную ссылку, пусть он пройдет.
She's just she's sending you a link on that game, so just.
Okay. Well, I was saying that the study has her, so I believe she could move the pieces on the board, and it would show to everybody.
No, you can move. I mean,
so this is Zaraza from 3 years ago. Against Kren. You beat Kren, one of the stronger players in the game. This is slightly different. I mean, he didn't walk into the opening trap.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you're better here. I mean, this is a common position, and it's probably about equal. So let's see how you win. Queen here. Like, I don't have the up with the computer analysis on, but White is he's actually.
You know what? This position, just stop at this position. I didn't think it's +8 for White under no circumstances. So я не думал, что здесь белые имеют уже +8. То есть it's very, I mean, the point of understanding of the nuances of the position, it's so it's dramatically stronger. I mean, dramatically more influenced in CrazyHouse than in chess. So here I think White has maximum equal position, not more than that. And after Queen h5 and Knight at g6, suddenly it becomes +9, +8 or stuff like that. Я действительно очень удивилась, вот, то, что в этой позиции уже у белых +8. То есть ферзь h5, конь g6 и конь g5 шах. У белых уже +8, не понимаю почему, за счет чего.
Это плохо или хорошо, я не понимаю.
Нет, потому что это очень хорошо с твоей стороны. То есть ты в принципе, лучше меня понимаешь какую-то позицию.
Ты дальше смотри.
Окей, слон f5, конь h6, окей.
Он тут допустил ошибку, я воспользовался.
Нет, так, но даже до ошибки уже была +8 позиция, уже почти выиграна. То есть после ферзя, да? Ну здесь понятно, здесь уже как бы пешка на h7 и все, там конец. Но имеется в виду, can you go back to the game and just show the position that I... No, several moves back on Queen h5. I mean, the position where White plays Queen h5.
Он ведь микрофон выключил.
David, your mic is off. Your microphone is off.
Yeah, I mean, I have some background for a second. If you want to just do your own screen share or your analysis on the main study, I added you. So the main study, I believe you move pieces, and it would show for everybody. So I actually, so if you want to show your own games, that's fine. And these sessions could go forever. I'm not sure if it's late how much you want to do, but okay. You could click on the bottom screen share. If you want to.
I mean, the position. You remember the position when she played Queen at h5. Did you think that White has such a big advantage? I mean, that's. Because in my understanding of the position, it's maximum equal. I mean.
Yeah, I mean the analysis is that it's.
Yeah, now I mean.
At f5 is a bad move. So Queen, in fact, Queen h5 isn't even a good move. It was blocking with the knight.
Not at g6. Okay. Queen h5
just knight at g6 was a blunder that he played. I mean, if he just plays g6. It's still even game because where's your queen going to go?
That's exactly what I thought. But not
if you play, if you try.
But still, why? Okay, so
the knight check here just doesn't do anything. You just move over and then you're going to be in trouble. So it was just knight at g6 that was a blunder, and Zaraza.
But still, you don't see this as a blunder. Okay, so you move to f8. So what? I mean, knight at g6. Why is so bad? I mean, position is so bad. So knight at g5 or whatever.
It's knight at g5, and here I guess.
Knight at h7.
I guess the h7 is going to fall. So much so that it's almost worth sacking. It's almost worth sacking the queen, but so you didn't play the correct. The correct refutation. Bishop takes f5 is only now it's marginally better. And
of course,
even the final position here, he just blundered mate in 2. So even in this position, here, okay, I mean, it's pretty bad. But if he played
losing,
here, he could have played king e8, but king here, queen takes. It's pretty bad. He has to play bishop at h7, but. Even that's not that bad. So he just blunders mate in 2.
Что-то поставить на h7 тоже еще держалось как-то.
So it wasn't like a brilliancy prize or anything. I mean, it's a good victory.
И это было 3+2, не пуля в 1-0.
Понятно. Молодец, наш молодец. Вот. Okay, so let's move back to your opening. I mean,
so I prepared. I just thought I'd show this one. I get this one all the time, and this one's
F6. Yeah.
Oh no, let me see. Okay, this is a very common. One of the other very most common opening. I play this.
Knight G5. Yeah.
Knight G5, and here's an interest. Like a common position, just like the rinse and repeat, putting the knight back, and I walk right into this a lot, even though it's kind of bad. And knight takes, pawn takes. Bishop G4 is the common move, and here knight at F6 is almost GG here, and very few people play it. So you see that, like, people who study the Open, they've seen the computer analysis, will play knight at F6, and they know it's the right move. You could see, Jasugi, Blitz Bullet, Katask,
Also played
Katask, even Mugwort has had this position a few times and not played the correct continuation.
You mean they played this position with black or with white?
Well, I mean, with white, to know here
Okay.
that like Mugwort even had a commentary video on this, and he was saying, like, you just keep on placing the knight back, and if you look at it here, knight at F6 is the only winning move here for white.
Okay.
So I mean, if you look at the analysis, black already has the advantage unless white plays knight at F6, and knight at F6 is pretty unclear that, like, why it would be such a good move. So if you look at knight at F6,
you're losing the piece anyway. So just weaken the structure of pawns of your opponent. It's like, it's not obvious, but I mean, it's a legitimate move. It's not something that.
This is really a computer analysis line. Like you would have to have seen because here you take on F6, and here also. You
have to take a knight. You can't take the queen. That's the problem.
No, you take the queen.
I take the queen, then a check on H6.
There's only one move here that's good for white.
And knight D5, yeah.
And it's saying, like, it's a computer line. I don't think anyone over the board, so here you can see Katask actually, you play Goldel Escher bot. So, I mean, Katask probably actually found this line from the computer and, played the line. Like, I don't think any human player would have guessed, this line. And even just to say, because it's a slow move, knight at D5, you're threatening to take the queen with check, and it's almost devastating. The computer recommends king at H8 just to avoid losing the queen with check. You try a sacrifice here, just king over, and then it's really GG. And like I know the line, so like I sometimes play into it, but usually you don't get this position. And this is an example.
Take with the queen. You can take with the queen here on knight at F6. I mean, you take
well, knight at D5 is the computer recommended move. You could also play knight G4, which I think is what I play. And that's also, then just knight takes G7, and it's pretty bad for white already.
Yeah.
But
тебе вариант на Е4, который Мерин вряд ли сможет отразить.
Against even players, I usually walk right into this. So if people know the line, they know the line. But saying like unless you're playing Katask or like something like that,
maybe bishop at H4. Maybe bishop at H4 is better than knight at F6. Yeah, I don't see any plus
still
6,
the
but
same
still
recommendation. And I guess
you take on G5. No, you take on G5. No, I mean with the bishop. So it's not that knight at D5 here, but you take on C6. вот, ну, я
Да тут
still
черным
выбираю,
хана, что разбирать? Или еще не все?
ну, не совсем, как бы, удержаться можно. Но это случай, то есть это варианты, где только катас там
Да,
этот
я
самый,
поняла, на высшем уровне.
на высшем уровне знают точные ходы, единственные ходы, которые действительно приводят к выигрышу. Большинство так не играет, как бы он показывает это, что можно это играть там на уровне чуть ниже профессионала, там, боком. То есть, окей. И это тот вариант, от которого ты отказался от хода Е4 3 года назад. Как бы, вот, показывает именно так, как белые могут получить огромный перевес, вот, даже если не
Я
пожертвовать.
я изучу это, потому что у меня, в принципе, память у меня неплохая, и если какие-то моменты знакомы, я начинаю делать.
I got a game, so I
Okay.
played in the Shield the other day, and Mugwort. Mugwort. I think I played Mugwort a few times. The first time I played right into this, and Mugwort. Yeah, I tried Queen at E8, and Mugwort basically just destroyed me. Like he knew exactly the right moves to play, and like here I'm already lost. Like he plays the knight at H5, and like I played Mugwort a few games, and like I knew if I played bishop there, he knew the line, and so I play here, and then like I'm already lost. And I'm like, oh crap, and I'm already lost. This is a cute.
Yes, but if no, rook at h8. No.
He didn't even play the rook at h8. Like
Yeah.
he could have played the rook at h8. I had a game
Yes.
against Clearcast where he had a cute mate.
Здесь тоже мотив, вот ладья h8, чтобы продолжать шахами забирать.
And then so I figure I was playing Mugwort, and Mugwort usually plays the bishop c5 lines, so he played bishop d7, which is I wasn't that familiar, but we end up in a game I just have a huge advantage, and also he just hangs the knight, so he brings his knight out, and then at this point he just hangs the knight, and I win the queen first. I figure, okay, like I guess I was better off not winning the queen first. Says I was better just taking the knight, and
yes,
I was able to grind him. Mugwort almost was still able to. I missed a mate in 3 here, so
yeah, but I mean, don't analyze stuff like that.
I missed a mate in 2. Just queen at f8, and black. So these are tricky lines to look into. If you do like a degree study, I guess you would have talked through, one of these main positions, and I'll show one more. Like this I get all the time, especially in the Blitzer.
Yeah, it's
the French
also
player
I have
Blitzer. He plays the French.
Lots of stuff, and then bishop g5. Yeah,
you can see this is extremely common. It's been played.
Yeah.
This line of bishop g5 is actually the most common move. It's been played close to 4,000 times in master play, and this theoretical line, you're supposed to sack the pawn and the queen. Almost everybody takes the queen here.
No, it's not a good move taking the queen, I think.
Well, no, it's an even position. If you look even
really?
Well, the computer analysis, it's slightly better for white. But no, I get this position
against or stuff like that.
I get this position all the time. I had a most recent game against.
You can try also playing e4 and g4
against Blitzer, and so he beat me the last few games. This is like a new theoretical line. I've been trying something different, and I missed the wrong move. Maybe next time. And so it's an interesting position here. There's another, this position, pawn at e4 is the most common move.
e4. I like very much e4 for black, and the bishop d5. Pawn at e4. It's very very strong. And
yeah, it's the best move. So you've seen the Blitzer. I've played him now 111 games. He's 59.5 against 51. He's actually got up to almost 2,400 recently. And so I was looking at a new theoretical line, queen at g4, g5. There's also bishop g5 or bishop at g5, queen at g5, and then he plays knight at f5, which and so I was preparing for this line and I messed it up. So the idea here is to sack two queens, and so just to play pawn, and I don't even have a knight. So if you're looking at the position, I don't even have the knight at f3, but I could take the knight with check. And so I've lost twice now in this line. This is a theoretical line. It's actually
two
computer
queens, but
recommendation.
nothing to do with them. You have two queens, nothing to do with them. Happens a
It's
lot.
actually computer recommendation. So I found this from a computer analysis, and I messed it up. And here he plays.
So just taking on g7. I mean, it's only queen for pawn, but it's so strong. I mean, I see this. So the not h5 is the only move. But wow, I like White's positioning. So not a5 and not h5. It's the only move, right? You take on c6.
So I grabbed the knight.
I grab another knight. Yeah.
So now I have the double knight. The knight. Taking the knight with check and knight at f3, knight f6, and he plays. Actually, not the best move. He played rook at
But he has
d8.
to defend. I mean, he has to defend something.
And I messed up here. Like I saw the book move, and I looked at this and I missed it. Is actually bishop takes e4, grabbing the pawn, and if he takes the pawn back, then
there's no rook g2. Instead of taking the pawn, you can take on g2. I think.
I'm not exactly sure. So I played knight here, and then I'm kind of. Then he plays queen at g4, and I went on. I mixed up the order of the moves, and I'm like, oh crap, I didn't know what to do. I guess d5 was the right move, but like I'm scared he's gonna sack his queen. It's looking bad. But knight h4 was a bad move. Like I had to have went.
Sure.
Knight at e1 was actually playable. Think about that. It's defensive for the g2 square, or bishop takes pawn first, and I guess.
But here rook takes g2. Rook takes g2, king h1. You play. King h1, yeah. H1.
Yeah,
but
so
still, you take.
He doesn't have a knight, so if he tries sacrificing another.
There's nowhere to create. You can't take on h2 because knight takes and bishop covers g2. So
yeah,
so
he has to play bishop. Here he already has to play bishop d7. I don't know if he brings his rook back.
Yeah, it's not a good move. Yeah, of course.
I have to look at this. This is a new theoretical line that I myself, if you look.
Wow, I like. I mean, queen takes g7. It's positional. You very. I mean, there's lots of cases when you sack the queen for the pawn for positional reasons. So it's purely positional. You're weakening black squares, and you sack queen for that. So it's amazing. Right.
Yeah, CIW won with it, and I copied his line. He played knight h4, which was the wrong move, and somehow went there. If you look at him, he's down a full two queens, and still somehow you pulled off a win. And so I actually copied CIW's line, which was bad, instead of the computer recommended line. So this is an example of computer assisted opening research that
sack of the queen. Значит, что хорошо в этой партии, в этом варианте, что позиционная жертва ферзя за пешку, чтобы просто ослабить черный поряд. То есть нету прямого выигрыша, но очень красиво, прям далеко не естественный ход, пожертвовать ферзя на g7 ради достижения позиционных целей. То есть потом поставить пешку на e7 и уже готовить маты там на f6 и все такое. И очень тяжело играть черными эту позицию с двумя ферзями в рукаве, но все равно с ними делать нечего. То есть у тебя два ферзя, но ничего особо с ними не поделаешь. И очень тяжело играть эту позицию. Хоть и то есть компьютерная оценка, она примерно равная этой позиции, но я тут за белых, как говорится. Я думаю, 90%, статистически, я думаю, где-то 90% эту позицию выиграют белые. Can you put the stats after sacrificing the queen in this position? I just like to see how many times white beat black. Yeah, after this. I mean, till the sack of the queen on g7. On g7, the second queen, yeah.
It's only been played like 2 times.
I only played 2 times, so what was the results? Okay.
One win for white, 1 win for black. CIW won, even though he played an inferior line. He still ended up winning here. I played Zycon in the Shield the other day.
Wow.
And I actually got here I just messed up and I was lost. Yes. So I was looking.
Take on G7, yeah.
I was looking in the analysis.
Вот здесь жертвовать на G7 потрясающая жертва. Я тащусь от нее. Честно.
Wow. I was really just going over my losses and looking for a better option.
Yes. But yeah, queen takes G7. I mean, wow. Such a great move.
But this is, the French line here is one of the most common lines, and even, this sacrificing the pawn on c3, bishop g5 is the book move. It's the main move played, and there's a line sometimes black will actually take the bishop. That's the third most common move. Occasionally people play at e7, and all these are relatively close positions. The most common move is knight takes d1, bishop takes, and then there's an at e4.
Now queen at g5. Queen at g5, it's not f5. But maybe for this,
when I play in arena, I will be in this position for white 3 or 4 times. If I play Blitzer and I have white, like guaranteed he's going to play the French. There's a few other players that play the French all the time. Zycon plays the French sometimes. A lot of top players. You could expect to see this position in top play constantly.
Yes. Это очень, говорится, то есть эти дебюты, все, которые он показывает, все эти разработки, очень, как говорится, частых дебютов, которые часто встречаются на практике. И как бы и хорошо было знать вот разработать какие-то вот особые идеи, которые вот на первый взгляд кажутся совершенно как бы неестественными и оказываются очень сильными в результате.
Поняла.
Что мог подумать?
Ага. Слушай, давай покажу ловушку. Я примерно ее составила, как она мне попадается. Я только один раз, когда я поняла фишку в этой ловушке, я сама ее просекла, если так можно выразиться, да, жаргонно. Я только один раз ее проиграла.
Okay.
Было, не смогла.
Sort of trap
Chapter 5. Можно вернуться, да.
Can we go back to the study, and there's chapter 5. So she wants to show some trap that she worked on. There's no chapter 5. Okay, chapter 5 here. Okay.
So I think if you move the pieces, it should work. Do you want to try just moving the pieces? I think.
Скажи, что это ловушка, которую я, если вижу, то я ее играю.
Ты можешь подвигать фигуру, посмотреть? Вроде
да, вот стрелка зеленая, я ее сделала от слона, от бишопа.
Попробуй подвинуть. Попробуй просто передвинуть фигуру. Окей.
Вот, соответственно, ход, да. При ходе...
6, наверное, нормальный ход.
Да, смотри, при ходе белых, если конь идет сюда, то проигрываете, да?
Не, так понятно.
Да, поэтому с большой вероятностью они поднимают пешку.
Пешка пойдет сюда.
Да.
Окей.
Вот.
Тогда бьется и пешка на b7, да?
Я беру.
Окей, верни обратно только, верни ход. Просто стрелкой влево ты возвращаешь ход. Все,
да.
Влево.
Ну, да, я понимаю, что... Сейчас. Просто они закрывают... Ой, не-не-не-не. Вот, они закрывают. И здесь я беру эту пешку.
Нет, у тебя пока еще не показывают, у тебя показан конь там. Окей. There's delay. There is a delay, stuff like that. Okay.
Is this the common position that she gets often? Is this something theoretically she made up, or is this a position she gets often?
И часто у тебя встречается эта позиция, как бы?
Нет, не часто, но да, периодически встречается. Сейчас почему-то конь не вернулся, сейчас я отыграю назад.
She wants to play, I mean, to show what's happening on c6, not knight c6. So it should
Пусть он
start.
попроси обновить страничку.
Could you refresh the page, the study, please? Okay.
She can control
So
it.
Bishop.
If she moves the pieces, they'll move on the screen.
Okay.
Так.
She doesn't need to ask me to do it. You could also, you're part of the study also.
Сейчас я
So,
тоже.
I'll put the study link in the
Так,
Facebook
55.
chat.
Вот,
So if you click on
чек,
it,
получается, у
Igor, you'll be
нас.
able to move the pieces also.
Окей, попробуй, значит, передвинуть снова.
Так, я передвинула, ну, что-то.
She doesn't work for her for some reason. Takes time. I mean, I think there's some delay, sort of delay or whatever. Окей, нажми на сломку 5 шаг. Нажми на то. Просто.
Сейчас, подожди, я еще раз. Чапта. Вот, чек сделала.
Окей.
Ну ладно, пусть тогда дует, если что. Нет?
Окей, не, ну просто скажи, что на C6 там. Если сломка 5 C6, просто
Так, да,
потом на
я...
C6, какая ловушка.
Закрывается он пешкой на C6.
Ну да. Да, на C6, что дальше?
Пусть двигает. Ага.
Окей. Не, ну просто расскажи в уме, потому что двигать там уже будет долго.
Ну, после этого я беру слоном пешку, мне нужна пешка.
Окей, он взял конем.
Да, и пешку я ставлю на F7.
И что тогда? Ну, король F8.
Короче, может быть, я неверно рассчитала, в смысле, вспомнила начало, но в такой позиции я просто разметиливаю в пух и прах. Может быть, тут еще даже обмен какой-то случился. Я пыталась по памяти вспомнить.
Окей.
Ну и к тому, что я жертвую слона за пешку, ставлю пешку туда под короля, и просто разваливается вся защита. Выигрываешь. Просто там такие дыры, сплошные вилки.
Да, там держится все-таки. Вилки
Да.
не страшно.
Ну, то есть, когда мне попадается эта позиция, да, нужная, я прям, у меня в голове щелкает, и я ее начинаю
She claims
работать.
that after bishop b5 check, c6, she takes with the bishop, knight takes, pawn at f7, and something happens. I mean, yeah, you take with the bishop. No, I mean, instead of that, you take with the bishop. No, instead of queen h5, take on no c6. Yeah, c6.
Knight at c6 or pawn
No,
c6?
c6. Pawn at c6. Yeah, pawn c6. Sorry, pawn c6. No, pawn c6. Bishop takes c6. Knight takes c6. Pawn at h7.
F7?
At f7, sorry. На f7 или на d7? Может, на d7 сильнее?
Нет, на F7.
Окей, king f8, and then what?
Ну, у меня, скорее всего, в том момент у меня еще какие-то размены в голове были.
You can take on c6 and then take on d6 and bishop at g5. Бьется на c6, бьется слон потом, и слон на c5.
Да, я, в общем, полностью тут
еще на
просто...
d4.
А я ловлю на диагональ ферзя его в итоге.
First take the knight. Okay, whatever.
Да, все правильно вспомнила.
Okay. It's also plus...
Well, the computer analysis is that the queen h5 is the powerful move. And
ну, это сильнее. Ферзь h5 еще сильнее получается. Опять же, вот такую позицию как бы можно получить. Но
да,
тут важно в том, что если ты получаешь вот такие позиции там, периодически или очень часто,
не очень часто, но я их помню, да.
Okay. She doesn't get those variations so often, but occasionally it happens, so she remembers this sort of trap. So it's, I mean, on the first side, bishop b5, it doesn't seem to be so strong. It's right. I mean, c6 and then what? It's like useless move. But then you take on c6, and
you have to take queen h5 first.
Okay, right? Okay, but still
and taking on c6 the computer says a bad move.
Сразу бить плохо. То есть нужно ферзь h5. Okay, queen h5 and then what? G6. It should be same idea or stuff like G6, what after G6? Take on f4. Wow, не совсем другая идея. Побить на e4 тут надо. And then if you take a queen, take on this. Bishop. No. Wow. I take G7. think
Ну
if
да, он только может. Ага.
bishop at e7. Oh, bishop at
You
e7.
for
Нет,
play
можно
slow moves
поставить,
here.
отдать за ферзя две фигуры.
Да, вот так он и делает. А слон c5.
White
Вот
king
это
is
моя
thinking of
любимая
king
диагональ,
f4
на
to play
которую я
slow
ловлю, в
moves.
принципе,
So
ферзя.
all the idea is to weaken the diagonal and then... Ну, он понимает, но нужно, как говорится, правильно точнее ходить, потому что слон c6 это уже плохой ход получается, как ни странно. То есть после шаха, там, если пешка закрылась, не надо сразу бить, надо ферзем на h5. Можно сразу. Окей. It's even better. Можно даже сразу ферзь h5.
If I mention, back to the idea of the DeGroot study and how to get better at chess. In Hebrew, you have the Musar movement, the Cheshbon and Nefesh. Are you familiar with that?
Okay, yeah.
So I mean, kind of like character refinement, basic like religious conceptions of character refinement in Hebrew, Cheshbon and Nefesh,
Yes.
calculating like our soul and our bad character. So it's like, oh, I'm getting angry. Why am I getting angry? It's not good to be angry. Let me figure out why I'm getting angry so I don't get angry so much. Or any case of bad character, like it's not good to be lazy. I don't want to be lazy. And so I have to think about why I'm being lazy in order so I don't act so lazy. So the point of getting the chess studies to getting better at chess is really to enter our own mind. And for my interest in cognitive studies and decision making, related to what I mentioned, Musser, is why do I make bad decisions? Why do I want to do the wrong thing? And I can understand.
Search for reasons. For everything, search for reasons.
Yeah, so on chess, it's kind of simple. You could look, that's how you develop a deeper understanding. It's like, I thought that I wanted to play, this move, which really isn't that good. And the reason I wanted to play this move was for obvious reasons. But now that I've came to a deeper understanding of the position, I understand the position in a much better way, that I realized that what I wanted to do wasn't really the best thing to do. And there's a different idea that I never thought about that in reality is much better.
Yes. Ну, вот о чем он говорит, что иногда нам кажется, вот, допустим, мы воспринимаем позицию, мы думаем, вот какой-то ход, он хорошую позицию, он оказывается плохим. И чтобы в процессе совершенствования ты начинаешь думать, почему вот я вот подумал, почему вот я сделал этот ход, почему я думал, что это хороший. То есть или я не видел там каких-то опровержений, или я там достаточно смотрел, мне просто было лень, или там думать, все такое. И в процессе совершенствования и в шахматах, и в CrazyHouse, это как бы этих причин, то есть начинаем лучше понимать позицию, то есть если мы правильно подходим к изучению как бы к этому процессу, то есть мы все лучше, все чаще и чаще мы будем находить более правильные, более точные ходы, точные решения.
Ну вот мы, не знаю, по-моему, в прошлом стриме или где я рассказывала, да, что я пересмотрела 60 игр этого Первейза на ЕСОГе, да, и я шла туда преднамеренно, чтобы посмотреть, как они играют за черными жертвы коня.
Да,
вот.
но нужно вот пытаться вот самой как-то вот как бы хорошо посмотрели, замечательно увидели, даже что-то запомнили.
Да-да-да, я к тому, что я хочу сейчас я начала часто ее проигрывать, когда противник ходит линию, когда противник идет по другому линию, да, там коня выведет второго раньше времени. Вот,
недостаточно как бы знать варианты, нужно еще понимать. I mean, it's not enough to know some variations, some lines. You have to understand the position, and that's the main I think the main difference between, as you mentioned, the main difference between stronger and weaker players that don't have. I mean, you can memorize everything. I mean, many lines or stuff like that. You can beat a stronger player in a specific line, but eventually, all it comes to the understanding of the base understanding of I mean concepts and specific positions. You feel better feeling whether the position you reach is good enough for you You can stand in and you can live with it. If you are defending, you can. If it's over, it's completely over. You can defend it, like a position you showed after bishop f7, the first you study. So, I mean, eventually, bad players will understand that taking on f7 that in that specific kind of position will be worse. I'm not talking about this position. The first study you showed us with black.
Yeah, I close that.
Yeah.
I just show this quickly. Another, like
Okay.
I showed this earlier. There's another line. The knight takes, and you have to take with the king. And I don't know why I played the poor move of taking with the knight, and I'm already in trouble because you just play the pawn right to the knight and the double take,
Yes.
and the knight take, and he still messes it up.
It's still better to take with the rook, I think. No, not with the knight on f7.
Yeah, so I lost this game to say
Yes.
a lower rated player, and even here, like if I took with the queen, it was much better. Like taking with the queen.
The win is also winning.
And here, like I just make like it's
No,
junk.
it's component at 7, and that's all.
I walk into mate in 2, and so, do you have children, Igor?
Yes, I have a son, almost 10 years old.
So I mean, Zaraza, you have multiple children?
No, у тебя одна дочка, правильно?
Да, one daughter.
One daughter. One daughter.
So, I mean, some you see bad behavior in your children, and you want to explain to your children why they shouldn't behave that way. And usually, it's similar to a chess position where like, if you had 2 children or your child, let's say they get into some sort of a dispute with another kid and they decide to hit him. And, there's a logic to the behavior. Like I had a dispute and I decided to resolve the dispute by hitting the person that was in the dispute. Seemed pretty logical to me. And then you explain to your kid, some sort of behavior of it, like stealing. God forbid you see your kid and they stole something. You're like, well, I saw something, I wanted it, and I stole it. Or any sort of simple bad behavior that you could see, like as a kid, like I wanted to buy the candy, and Dad, I saw you had a few dollars on the counter, so I just took it and bought, so I just stole it. And so you have to explain to your kid why they shouldn't behave like that. And it's a certain reason similar to like these chess positions where you see, well, it makes sense to play the wrong move. There's a clear logic behind playing the wrong move, but when you have a deeper understanding of the position, then you could see that it's not going to work out good for you if you follow that way, even though there's a logic, but actually there was something good for you to do in the position. And the Cleveland, there's a study, one of the first psychological studies on chess, I think in 1907, Cleveland, I go over in one of my stream. He quotes the Socrates, know thyself by playing chess, and you could know your own mind because our mind has a proclivity towards certain moves, and a lot of times what our mind wants to do is the wrong move. And then that's why the chess analysis, to think about, wow, this is bad, but why do I want to do what's bad? And then you come through this process to a deeper understanding of the position through recognizing what I really want to do isn't that good, but at the same time, there was something good to do there and a deeper understanding. And then as you get better, you see that in your opponents. Like I said, with the first position, with the bishop takes f7, I expect my opponent to play that move, even though it's bad. And in that position, when I'm in that position, I'm always just sitting there waiting for my opponent to make that bad move because I've seen it so many times, and I know the logic of the reason why they're going to play the bad move and not realize it's not actually bad. And so I thought that's kind of interesting in a non-chess way of just the value of chess, decision making, improving thought processes, and understanding things at a deeper level. Me and Igor were talking about Israeli politics, international politics, and it's similar to that. It's like politics. Like, why do people think such stupid things? And it's because there's a logic to it, and they thought that, like, of course it makes sense.
But always find the logic. Yeah, it's fun with people always find the logic behind their actions. I mean, it's obvious. But мы просто говорили там о воспитании детей, допустим, что если там ребенок сделал что-то плохое, там, не знаю, или ударил кого-то, или что-то такое, как ему объяснить, вот, что он делал плохо. То есть, и подход он такой, что нужно выяснить, почему, что он думал при этом, почему он это сделал. То есть каждый человек делает что-то, даже если он плохой делает, потому что где-то что-то для... Есть какое-то логическое объяснение, обоснование его поступку. То есть нужно выявить, как бы, что за обоснование, почему он так вот подумал. И то же самое в шахматах. Как бы. Сделал плохой ход, но были какие-то вот мысли по поводу этого хода. То есть был логическое мышление. Чем дальше мы совершенствуемся, развиваемся, тем мы лучше как бы понимаем, что плохие ходы лучше не делать. Делать нельзя. Как бы. Вот, ну, как бы, что мы уже лучше соображаем, что это уже даже на интуитивном уровне, что это уже плохой ход. То есть, там, обижать, там, и там, не знаю, бить, это уже, как говорится, на уровне интуиции тоже плохо. Вот. И вот эта аналогия, как бы.
12 часов ночи, Игорь, я бы, да, хотела бы...
Уже завершать.
Баиньки. Ну, вы можете еще поговорить просто, мне уже...
Последнюю мою комбинацию.
Да.
Все-таки же я тебя разбужу. We just about, I think Zaraza wants to to finish our conversation. It's interesting, but it's a bit late here. So I suggest we go through my last study, my position of mate. And
do you want to share a screen? You want to share your own screen? Do you see how to do that?
I just try. I'll try. Just a second. Okay.
So when you click on share screen at the bottom,
yeah,
and then it'll pop up a new window. And
just a moment. I have to first I have to get to my. Here's my study, so I have to share screen. Here, just a second.
What I was mentioning, the importance of the method of study to improve at chess is you have to analyze our own mind to see why we have an inclination to make the wrong decision. And then from there, that's how you come to the deeper understanding. You say, oh, now I realize that I used to look at it and misunderstand the position, and you understand the position deeper through understanding why we misunderstood the position in the first place. And that's why the method of analysis is really the key to improvement.
Wow, I've seen so many screens, very small.
If you just click on the share screen button,
yes,
and then you'll see screen share. If you click on that, a window pops open. You click on
window
the picture in the middle, and then you click on share.
No, I mean I see very many small. Okay, share here, and then what?
Okay, so now your screen is being shared, and so I can see you have like 7 tabs. So just move it over to the tab.
Just a moment. Here is my study. Okay.
Okay, so just keep it on the window that you're.
Yeah. This is the position, the initial position. Okay, white mate. Actually, the Stockfish shows only plus 15, but it's mate on 13. So you have, if you want to, I mean,
knight h6.
Okay, first move knight at h6. Yeah, black takes. Now what?
Knight f6.
First of all, after king f8, it's smothered mate. То есть, если король уходит, это ферзь g8 и конь f7. It's smothered mate, so f6. Knight at f6, okay, king h8. And then what? It's not a move.
Нет, я чуть просчиталась. Господи, тогда на e7.
Knight e7, check. If king g7, it's easy. Knight at f5 and queen g7, and that's it. So king h8, have to go, and it's showing. I have to. Okay, I have to. Now the very nice move.
Дальше, конечно, можно поставить ферзя, но толку от него нет, так понимаю, да?
Я возьмет слон держит, да, не совсем.
Ага.
Но близко к идее, то есть.
Слона забирай, давай, владей.
Не, ну это уже...
Внизу.
Заберу, уже черный выиграют.
Да. Я все время забываю, что нужно бесконечно мотовать.
Нет, нужно именно мотовать. Окей. So, yours, just let's do it.
Very
nice move here.
It's tough to, I mean, I mean, you would think it'd be knight takes f7, and then you obviously can't take with the rook because queen
Okay.
at g8 and bishop takes f7. Then you could drop the pawn back at g7 and bring the knight back to f5, but the king might get away. The only other check that
So that's the main point. It's a very nice idea. Okay. So you take bishop takes, you put the pawn, take the knight here, and there's the key move. I mean, you think that the king is going away, right? But now it's the key move.
well, the king can't get away because they have no material here.
Yeah. So what do you have to make? It's the key move. It's very nice side move that I've seen in my game. It was like amazing. I mean, I'm so proud of this.
Well, I mean,
It's not. Yeah.
You could take the pawn on h6 with
Yeah,
check,
exactly.
but then the bishop free
And
bishop.
bishop. Okay.
Well, the bishop moves to free up the square because now
Ну и
you're
пешкой
threatening-
мод, да. Ага.
If you know, it's not. I mean,
еще
you
не
put the
будет,
pawn and you can't free because queen g7, queen e7. I mean, so
Yeah,
so
that's
that-
what happened in the game.
So
That's what happened in the game.
I
But
mean,
there's
okay,
another.
the reason that the bishop g6 frees up another square
Yes.
for the king, but it doesn't work. I'm
Doesn't
assuming you're saying
happen.
it's
So I have
forced mate. If you
block.
block with a queen, you're going to get mated. Blocking with
Yeah.
the knight.
That's exactly. You have to put the check.
Mhm.
Here, it's all the variation, and here h4, I think. If I remember, yeah, h4, queen g2, g4, and with no material, with almost no material, but it's still made. If you go, I mean, no matter where it's made. I mean,
Ну,
if
подбираешь слоном,
queen
да.
h4, it's the same mate. Bishop g5 or bishop g3. Yes, that's the mate. I mean, but starting from here, I mean, it's
Well, it's kind of like the position that the mate I showed against Strike, in that if you're lost here, if you're looking at the position, it's like, I mean, you're not necessarily lost, but you're down material, and if you don't have
yes, you're
something, you're in
winning.
trouble. So
Yes.
even though you're not going to see like, oh, it's made in 13, to some extent, if you just went with your best possibilities, you still
Yes,
might
you
find
should
it. So I doubt you actually calculated it. You just went with.
I
assuming that-
calculated absolutely. I calculated till the last move. That's what doesn't happen a lot to me, but still, specifically this game, yes, I calculate, including the taking on h6 and all the stuff. Because it's still winning. It's okay. I can take on d1.
Yeah, I mean, you just
or
take on
whatever.
e1, you can't take the rook back because of smothered mate. So I mean, if you just take
Yeah.
on e1, it's even if you didn't know the analysis, you're like, okay, even position, I take on
Yes.
e1, and
It was my
material
plan B.
is even.
It was my plan B actually, but still, it's very nice that I saw this. I mean, I liked it a lot.
Все, я поняла, да. Ну, в принципе, начало у меня было правильно, я целых 2 хода просчитала.
Да?
Well, I talked about the chunking theory in motifs. So
Yes.
if you did you calculate 13 moves, or did you calculate 3 or 4 different motifs? So like in your head, did you see 13
Absolutely.
moves, or did you see 3 or 4 different motifs in those
Okay, motive of.
that were combinations of 3 or 4 moves?
I mean, the motive of smothered mate is, of course, it was motive. I mean, after king h8 or whatever, a motive of bringing the king, the black's king back. Also, it's kind of motive. I mean, pawn at g7, then knight at f5, and then queen on g7. It's like one perspective, one motive. It's like moving the king out, and then taking. I mean, the second part was to take on h6 and put the pawn back on d5 and bringing the white's king out. I mean, out
if you
of
want
the.
to if you want to translate, mention real quick, because I teach mental techniques. So I used to coach chess. It was called All the King's Men Chess and Brain Games, and so we're talking about like you're talking about pawn at g7, knight at f5, queen at g7. So the visualization skill where you're looking at thinking about what the board is going to look like in multiple moves later,
Yes.
that's a motif, that's a chunk. You don't have to think
Yes.
about what the board's going to look like in 3
Right.
moves, because it's
Right.
one simple forced motif that
Right.
is like, okay, pawn at g7, knight f5, queen at g7, and it's not really so complicated like looking 4 moves deep. It's just one
Yes.
motif.
Exactly. Ну, то, что мы говорили в начале эфира, именно про
Мгм.
мотивы. Вот этот мотив, во-первых, из 4-го мата, то есть если на коне 6 король отойдет, на ферзь g8 и побью на f7, или то, что вот я выведу короля при помощи пешки на g7, потом коня на f5 шах, ферзь на g7 шах, я уже выведу короля. Это фактически я смотрел на это как на один мотив, то как на одну частичку информации. Вот. Следующая частичка информации была взять вот пешку на a6, это уже следующий ход. И при помощи пешки, пешку поставить на d5, вернуть короля на королевский фланг и замотовать его там. Тоже был уже второй мотив. Вот именно теория вот этих мотивов, как бы теория частичек и единиц информации, она подтвердилась именно в этой партии. Okay, I think we had a great transmission, great time.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I guess we'll end the stream, and we could talk about doing it again. And just mentioning for the method, you don't have to follow the method precisely, but the idea is to get a position and just talk it out. Everything that's going into your head, just say it out loud so that you have a witness, so that you know why you're thinking what you're thinking. And you could even just record it yourself by yourself and play it back for yourself. But the key thing is that you know why you were thinking what you were thinking. So kind of like a psychoanalysis, you could go back and perfect your thinking. So when the same position happens again, that you'll be able to see deeper into the position. That's the purpose of the method. And if you could even do it as a group with multiple people, where you show the same position to a series of people and let each person think it through. And it's one of the most proven, effective methods for improving at chess. So I appreciate Zaraza and Igor coming on. Hopefully we'll do this again and be in contact. Blessings. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you very much. Good night. Спасибо, что помечу, что мы можем эту же методику, как бы вспоминания мотивов или все слежки за ходом мыслей с помощью мотивов, как бы можем попробовать на наших стримах с разными людьми. Вот, и совершенствоваться как групповое занятие. В общем, спасибо большое, спасибо огромное за уделенное время. Мне было очень весело, очень хорошо, как говорится, очень приятно.
Thank
Zaraza,
you,
any final words, please? You can do English or Russian, whatever you want.
Okay, thank you.
See
Thank
you
you
later.
for your
Bye-bye.
effort. I mean, I really enjoyed this transmission.